Ready? Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. The Public Financial Management Conference will begin shortly. In the meantime, we kindly request everyone to settle into your seats and ensure that mobile devices are in silent mode. If you have not registered yet, please proceed to the registration desk outside of the hall. Once again, we are delighted to have you with us today. Thank you, and we'll begin in a few minutes. Good morning. We request everyone to take their seats as we will now begin. Thank you.
Your Excellencies, distinguished ministers and secretaries, the PEFA partners and secretariat, public financial management experts, ADB colleagues, PEFA flagship training participants, ladies and gentlemen, a pleasant morning to all of us. It is our pleasure to welcome you to today's Public Financial Management Conference, marking a significant milestone, the 25 years of the Public Expenditure and Financial Accountability Program.
Today's event reflects on PEFA's achievements in enhancing transparency, accountability, and trust in the use of public funds, while reaffirming our shared commitment to advancing credible and inclusive reforms moving forward. At this point, it is our honor to invite ADB Vice President for Administration and Corporate Management, VP HKU, for her opening remarks.
Thank you. I must say the MCs look very smart in their Filipiniana way. A lot better than me. So, pressure. Wow, what a week it has been, huh? We kick-started the week with the PEFA flagship training on Tuesday, I believe, and the training has been running since. Then yesterday, we had an amazing event to launch the Philippines' updated PFM reform roadmap. And quickly after that, we followed with some cocktail reception where hopefully people had fun doing their homework. So who spoke to at least 2 new people? Put your hand up. Very good. Good students. Very good students. Some are saying way more than 2. Yeah, I get it. I get it. Well done to you. I also know that PEFA members have been very busy throughout the week, and I understand even today, getting together with some serious discussion about the priorities and the work program as part of the steering committee meetings. So I think one could say that it's been a week of PFM festivities, don't you think? Yeah, but wait. Just as PEFA champions, experts and practitioners thought we could not squeeze in any more fun in a week, there is more. For starters, I'm dressed like this because straight after this, a small number of us will be going to the palace, also known as Malacanang, to present the updated roadmap to President Marcos. Now, this clearly tells you something about PFM, that it is such an important issue that it goes straight to the top political leader for his endorsement and, frankly, ownership. Right? How great is that? Great is that? And that's why I'm dressed like this in my Filipiniana. Now, but here comes the punchline for me for why I'm here, standing before you. Finally, to finish off what's been an amazing, fabulous week with a big bang, we hope, that it is my great privilege to be able to welcome you to 2026 Public Financial Management Conference to celebrate, formally celebrate, because I know we did a little bit of celebration last night, to formally celebrate PEFA's 25th anniversary. Today, we reflect on the 25-year journey of the PEFA program. What a grand journey it's been. Over 800 assessments in 150 countries across the world. Just think about that. Whoa, 150 countries. That's almost every country in the world, by the way, right? And 25 years of continuous engagement, collaboration, and global partnerships. That's what PEFA has been all about. Now, ADB's journey with PEFA is not as long, it's not quite 25 years, but I would say one that is substantive and one that started well before we became a partner. It started with ADB co-leading the Bangladesh PEFA in 2021. Building on this experience, we led the subnational PEFA. Subnational, this is a really important point, right? For Nepal. And then the PEFA for the Philippines, my good colleague from the Department of Finance is here, came next. The extra special thing about the PEFA for the Philippines is that it is the first one to include an assessment on child responsive systems. I really think there's going to be many that will be able to learn a great deal from this experience. And let's face it, if we're not there to protect our children, who are we trying to protect? And finally, earlier this year, we also completed the PEFA in Kazakhstan, and I met my dear colleague from Kazakhstan last night. She was one of many new faces that I got to talk to last night. These PEFA assessments help governments to work with their stakeholders to identify PFM gaps in the country and formulate actions to improve PFM systems. I would say PEFA assessments are a perfect tool for the political economy of reform world. We all know achieving reforms are tough, but when you've got a tool like this is when you can mobilize the stakeholders, mobilize the decision makers to actually drive real reform. I also think the success of these efforts makes it very clear that ADB brings deep regional expertise to the global PEFA platform. And I hope other partners wholeheartedly agree with that statement. And that we can really leverage our knowledge for better PFM in the region. So the natural next step for the ADB was, of course, to become a PEFA partner in November 2025. But I have to say now, especially after this week, I feel like ADB's been a partner forever, right? It's been a partner for a long, long time. PEFA is closely aligned with ADB's mission in delivering better services and improving lives. As ADB's developing member countries face increasing volatility, economic shocks, and public concern over corruption, robust, transparent, and accountable PFM systems are critical to ensuring resilience, building trust, and securing sustainable development in this region. However, this is not something that can be achieved by one person, or even one organization, or even one country for that matter. It requires collective action based on partnerships, shared learning, and collaboration among governments, development partners, and PFM experts. So I really hope this week, the PEFA week, has inspired and empowered each and every one of you to carry forward a renewed commitment and that momentum on this collective action that is very much required. ADB, for one, is absolutely committed to partnering with you on this journey to building stronger, more responsive PFM systems that deliver sustainable and inclusive growth for the people of Asia and the Pacific. So with that, thank you, and I wish you all the best with this conference as well.
Thank you very much, VPHK, for that very warm welcome and inspiring message. It is our pleasure to have another distinguished speaker, World Bank Global Director for Governance, Mr. Arturo Herrera, for his opening message.
Thank you, and good morning to everybody. As I was listening BPU, I start getting memories of sort of my journey over the last 25 years. I was not around when PEFA was born, not at the World Bank, but I was actually working for the government. I have been working on PFM issues at the World Bank and in my government. And I still remember a story that happened around 25 years ago. At the time I was working on Mexico City, I was the treasurer of Mexico City, and I had to discuss some budget issues with the mayor. The mayor was a very seasoned politician, which many years later became president of Mexico. And at that point, we thought there was some sort of tension in the way in which we tried to come with an agreement. We thought that there were some technocrats, including me, which were working on PFM issues, and there were some politicians, and the objectives were different. But one day we were trying to square the budget, and then he told me something that stayed in my mind, and this was coming from a politician, not a technocrat. He said, "What is not in the budget is demagogy." So if what countries want to do, if they really mean it, it has to be in the budget, it has to be considered PFM. Because budget and PFM are a vehicle to achieve things. PEFA started in although it becomes now the standard to assess the state of public financial management issues across the world, it started, I would like to say, with a little bit more humble objectives. It was trying just to assess if the international community and people interested in PFM issues across the world could actually trust in the country systems of a country. Let me state the term trust and park it for a while. But little by little, it started evolving in a different direction. It was not long before we realized that from assessing what the state of public financial management systems in a country was there, it allows actually to draw roadmaps for reform. As BPU has mentioned it, that's actually the spirit of what they are going to be discussing with the president today. But PEFA has been also sufficiently flexible to transform, to evolve, and to be able to adapt to new trends. Very, very relevant issues like the ones associated to climate change, of gender matters, which were as important 25 years ago as they are today, but they were not recognized as such, are now part of PEFA. Over these 25 years, the World Bank, along with many other partners, have been conducted PEFA assessments in 155 countries with over 700 assessments completed. Many of them were initially on national governments. Many of them now are at the subnational governments, as BPU mentioned it. While it's important that this has been adopted, what is also important is the way in which it has been also adopted by countries, etc. In order to implement PEFA, we are really happy to work with you, but actually countries now could do it by themselves. And that's actually the ultimate test that proves that an assessment has been boring. Now let me go back to the original idea, which was, let's try to check if we could trust country systems to have reforms. And now the term trust has evolved in a different way, because now realize that budget, as it provides services, it became a key element of trust of citizens and government, and a key element of their relationship. So we were not too lost when we started there 25 years ago. Let me finish it by making two separate comments. One, I'm going to finish it by picking up where BP started, making reference to the dress code for the ceremony. I come from a country which shares some similarities with the Philippines, Mexico. Both of us were Spanish colonies. We share a lot of terms. Our currency is actually called pesos. Mexico has 133 million people. Philippines has 115 million people, so very similar in many ways. Climate is slightly different. Mexico has a lot of coast, but also Mexico City is 2,200 meters over the sea level. The city I grew up is 2,400 meters over the sea level. So you actually have to cover yourself. So we don't have one dress code, but two dress codes in Mexico for official events like this one. If it's in Mexico City, you put a tie and a jacket. But let's say if it's in Acapulco or Veracruz, and Acapulco was a port which received the trade with the Philippines back in the day, it's actually proper to wear what we call in Mexico a guayabera, and in some other places it's called a Philippine. Now, in anticipation of this meeting, I prepared my own guayabera, and I consult Srini and said, what is the dress code? And he sent one line, formal, and that's why I'm with a tie today. Now, a final comment. PEFA has been extremely helpful to achieve many things, and it's particularly important now that the fiscal space has been squeezed across the world, not only developing countries, but also advanced economies. In particular, the very poor countries, around 60-something of them are already on debt distress, high risk of debt distress, or moderate risk of distress, which means that they will need to do major reforms on public financial management. PEFA is very important and as necessary today as it was more important and necessary today as when it was 25 years ago when it was first designed. My final comment and sort of a plea, even after 25 years in which we have been working with this instrument, no matter who do I ask, they still can figure out what's the right way to pronounce it. The VP pronounces PEFA, somebody else pronounces it PEFA. I hope that the next time, maybe in the next 25 years, we could figure out this. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Arturo Herrera, for that insightful message and for setting the tone for today's celebration. We now come to a significant highlight of today's event, PEFA history, 25 years in the making. For 25 years, the PEFA framework has played a pivotal role in strengthening PFM systems globally. It has provided governments and development partners with a common performance tool, driving reforms and promoting better governance. To guide us through this milestone, it is my pleasure to invite Mr. Srinivas Gurasada, head of the PEFA Secretariat.
They did not know it. They simply did not know it when way back a small innocuous meeting in Africa, where the finance secretary was meeting with several development partners. And the finance secretary asked a simple question. Can we have one assessment? Can we, government and you, development partners, together agree on what is good public financial management? Because till then, there was a situation where possibly a World Bank mission would come and conduct what is called country financial accountability assessment. Probably 2 months before, there would have been a DFID assessment on the fiduciary state of the financial management system and a European Union Commission assessment. So multiple assessments and an IMF review of the whole finances. So how do governments see this when there are multiple reports and assessments, some cases even giving contradictory messages. And that was the ask. They did not know that 25 years later, today, here in Asian Development Bank headquarters, we will be celebrating the 25 years of PEFA. But that's what led to the 7 partners in coming together in creating the first ever PEFA framework. It took few years to put together this first framework. And when this came up, the framework, it was an instant hit. It started with 2 assessments, Afghanistan and Zambia. But they did not probably know it is A to Z or A to Z. All other countries over time are going to have PIFA assessments. And that's what it worked out. Within no time, 1 year, there were 33 assessments. It was very fast. The acceleration was extremely fast. But then, who are doing these assessments? Assessments are led by development partners, donors. The whole tool is seen as a mechanism where individual development partners sacrificed, dropped their own institutional tools for fiduciary risk assessment and for financial management assessment and converged behind PIFA. And they were doing the assessments. That's where the point where a new framework came out. With the initial experiences, the 2011 version of the framework came out. That also triggered a question. Is it right? Is this the model which is going to be the model for future? And something very important happened at that point of time. Busan Conference 2011 on development effectiveness. It changed the rules of game for development community. Till then, what is seen as a mechanism to conduct assessments, to understand country systems, to whether development partners can put in money and how they should put in money, the game changed to something like convergence behind the government to strengthen public financial management systems. So the framework evolved from a tool to be used by partners to something, a tool to be used by governments. From a tool which is of the partners, by the partners, for the partners, it became a tool by the governments, for the people of the citizens. And that's where this change took place. The move from donor-led assessments to country-led assessments. Self-assessments are development partner and government collective assessments. And this is the model which is still continuing. More and more, the primacy is always now with the governments. Then came another situation. There was this country which was nicely doing PIFA assessments, had strong appetite for public financial management reforms, and it was doing good reforms. And on a particular day, the president of the country decided that the election is coming and it's a very complex election, and ordered their teams to have fictitious transactions to steal money from the IFMIS system and fund election campaign. Money was stolen from the IFMIS system to probably into the election system, and it was a catastrophe. Then the questions came up. Of course, it's a different matter that the president lost the election and eventually even faced the consequences. But more importantly, the question came up. If there are PIFA assessments, if there are PFM reforms, did all this not get flagged? It was. When it was examined, the PIFA assessment reports clearly flagged issues. But then something else was also discovered. The PIFA assessment reports had mistakes, errors, gross overstatements of scores, because till then PIFA assessments were happening all over the world, separate teams, separate processes, separate ways against a common framework, and there is hardly any mechanism to ensure consistency. While it is objective and evidence based, the report consistency was not assured, and that's where 2014 PIFA check came into place. Today we can very proudly on the 25th year of PIFA say that all the PEFA assessments, almost all would get a PEFA check, and PEFA check leads to a credibility and assurance that the assessment report is compliant with the framework, a major landmark. That also led to further brainstorming based on the experiences. What do we get? 2 years it took for the landmark current framework to evolve. Every stakeholder in the world, governments, development partners, everyone came together to understand what they want to define as common good practice on public financial management. And what we have is the current framework, what some people also call as 2016 framework, or the flagship framework, or the main framework. There was no looking back after this. It was fast. Countries were doing self-assessments and joint assessments. PFM systems were being monitored using the framework. Additional tools came up. You have the gender PEFA framework coming up, a subnational guidance to enable subnational governments use the national framework was introduced, and things were developing very fast ever since, till the climate PEFA assessment came up, and what we now after climate PEFA called the PEFA plus plus. A plus would mean PEFA plus either gender or climate. A plus would mean PEFA, gender and climate included to national PEFA. And now in a 25th year, we are more now talking of plus, collectively doing several assessments at one go. 902, that's what last night my colleague from Washington, DC updated the number and said, it is a live number, it changes every day. And today we have 902 assessments. When we are celebrating 25 years, we are celebrating 902 assessments, all the teams, all the experts, all the PFM gurus working on that. 40,000 plus PFM experts trained, associated in the process over the 25 years of journey. And in 156 countries, this transformative impact has taken place and is covering 90 plus freelance consultants working world over to conduct PFM assessments, and some of them are also in this room. And all the PEFA secretariat members, way back from 0 members when the PEFA initiative started, 1 member for several years is the staffing for PEFA secretariat, and now we have for all the PEFA secretariat colleagues who worked on that. And the PEFA partners. So the 9 PEFA partners of the PEFA partnership, the steering committee meetings which take place every 6 months to guide the program, to make sure that it is relevant and take us forward. When we celebrate 25 years of PEFA, we are celebrating all these friends. That's PEFA at 25. And this is a short booklet we will soon be receiving on the history of PEFA, some highlights of the history of PEFA. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Srini, for that very inspiring presentation. You have indeed taken us through PEFA's remarkable journey and its enduring role in enhancing transparency, accountability, and trust in the management of public funds. Ladies and gentlemen, a warm round of applause again to Mr. Srini. At this point, we would like to direct your attention on the screens for a video presentation looking back on the 25 wonderful years of PEFA.
How do governments ensure that children are learning in classrooms, patients receive quality care, and farmers can reach markets on reliable roads? How do they improve service delivery, enhance public trust, attract investment, and reduce poverty? These everyday outcomes depend on how trillions of dollars in public money are collected and spent, shaping billions of lives. This is only possible with strong public financial management, or PFM. But how do we measure PFM performance? For 25 years across 156 countries, PEFA, the Public Expenditure and Financial Accountability Framework, has been the global tool for measuring PFM performance. Nearly 900 assessments have been conducted at national and subnational levels. Using evidence-based analysis, PEFA assesses PFM systems across 3 budgetary outcomes: fiscal discipline, strategic allocation of resources, and efficient service delivery. But what makes PEFA the go-to diagnostic tool, and why does it matter? The story began in 2001, when a group of development partners came together around a shared vision, creating a credible, common approach to assessing and improving PFM systems worldwide. PEFA was designed to support country-led reforms, coordinate donor support, and improve aid effectiveness. It quickly gained international recognition, becoming the gold standard for PFM diagnostics globally and a key contributor to the Sustainable Development Goals, or SDGs. How is PEFA used to measure performance over time? Countries across regions, income levels, and governance systems use PEFA to track progress and strengthen reforms. In fact, most countries with PEFA assessments have completed multiple national assessments. For example, Serbia has used PEFA for nearly 2 decades to assess performance, monitor reforms, and guide national PFM reform programs. At the sub-national level, PEFA is also used to monitor PFM system performance improvement across sub-national entities such as municipalities, states, cities, districts, provinces, and counties in countries across the world. Want to learn how PFM performance is assessed? Take PEFA's free self-paced online course, available in English, French, and Spanish, through the World Bank Open Learning Campus and edX platforms, and receive an official PEFA certificate. PEFA continues to evolve to address new challenges, emerging best practices, and the changing role of PFM. Today, PEFA includes innovative tools focused on gender and climate. PEFA Gender assesses how countries' PFM systems respond to the differing needs of women and men. PEFA Climate presents information on how ready PFM systems are to support the implementation of government climate policies. Countries including the Philippines, Bolivia, Uganda, Nepal, Burundi, Colombia, Togo, Bhutan, and many more are already using the PEFA++ approach, combining PEFA's core framework with gender and climate assessments. PEFA data is now available through the PFM Knowledge Hub on the PEFA website, including global reports on PFM and the PFM Tracker. These resources highlight key PFM performance trends across regions, country income levels, and time periods, while also exploring country case studies. PEFA research, based on data collected through PEFA assessments, helps generate new knowledge on public financial management. PEFA PFM research papers contribute to ongoing global conversations and developments in the field of public financial management. PEFA is the United Nations official data custodian for budget credibility data to monitor SDG progress. Sound PFM systems mean governments prepare budgets well, execute budgets well, and evaluate budgets well. When governments commit to robust public financial management, services reach people, governance strengthens, and public trust grows. For 25 impactful years, the PEFA initiative has been a trusted catalyst for governments. Let's come together and accelerate the PFM reform journey worldwide.
As we reflect on PFA's global impact, it is equally important to understand how PFM is evolving across regions. Leading us into our next discussion, it is our pleasure to invite the Director General of the Sector's Department 3, Christine Engstrom, to share her perspectives on PFM priorities for Asia and the Pacific.
Great. Hello and good morning, everyone. Distinguished PEFA partners, not PEFA, I guess it's PEFA, government representatives, colleagues, and friends. So it's a real pleasure to join you here today as we mark 25 years of the Public Expenditure and Financial Accountability Program. This is really more than an anniversary. As we've just heard from Srini, it's really a moment to recognize a major collective achievement in the global public financial management community. So let me first begin by thanking the PEFA Secretariat for its leadership, coordination, and then commitment to supporting countries and partners around the world. You've really achieved a lot. We really thank you. This anniversary is also very meaningful for ADB. So ADB recently joined PEFA program as a partner, and we're really pleased to contribute to more directly to this important platform. So for ADB, joining PEFA reflects our commitment to supporting strong public financial management reforms that help governments deliver better development results across Asia and the Pacific. For 25 years, PEFA has helped countries and development partners speak a common language on public financial management. It's really helped to provide a credible framework to assess how public resources are planned, budgeted, spent, reported, and then audited. Most importantly, it has helped governments and partners look at public finance systems as a whole and as a foundation for effective government and then better development outcomes. I also acknowledge the PEFA partners, governments, officials, and PFM practitioners joining us here today. PFM reform is not easy, as you all know. It requires sustained leadership, technical capacity, and coordination. The progress achieved across the region really reflects the dedication of many people working across the public financial system. As we celebrate PEFA's achievements, we should also be looking ahead. And I know that you're all actively planning the different types of activities that we'll be doing in the regions. The next generation of PFM reform really will be even more important because of the development challenges really impacting us here in Asia and the Pacific, and they are really becoming more complex. Governments across the region are managing fiscal pressures, debt vulnerability, very severe climate shocks, infrastructure gaps, demographic change, and then rising expectations for better public services. These pressures affect daily lives. They're about whether children can attend safe schools, whether hospitals can continue operating during disasters, and whether infrastructure can really support growth, and whether vulnerable households are protected during crises. And this is why public financial management matters. Strong budgets are not an accounting exercise. They are a development promise. PFM is about converting public resources into development results. It's about turning budgets into better services, public investment into resilient infrastructure, climate finance into real adaptation, and public spending into public trust. For ADB, PFM is therefore not a narrow fiduciary issue. It's really central to our country dialogue. Policy-based lending, investment operations, and then support for climate action, debt sustainability, governance, institutional reform, and inclusive development. And today I'd like to highlight 5 priorities for the next generation of PFM reform in Asia and the Pacific. First, fiscal resilience to protect development gains. Recent years have shown that shocks are no longer exceptional. They are frequent, they are overlapping, and they are increasingly fiscal in nature. A pandemic, as we've seen, can quickly become a budget crisis. A climate disaster can become a debt sustainability challenge. Food and energy price shocks can place immediate pressure on subsidies, social protection, and then social services, as well as public services. For ministries of finance, fiscal resilience really must become a core function of government. This means then understanding risk before they become crises, managing debt prudently, preparing for contingent liabilities, and protecting essential spending when shocks occur. So resilience, of course, is really built before the shock and not after us. Second, better public investment to deliver services and infrastructure. Asia and the Pacific needs major investment in infrastructure, as you've seen. Climate resilience is very important for us, energy transition, connectivity, cities, and then human capital. But the issue is not only how much countries invest, it's also how well they invest. A project is really not successful when it's approved, it's successful when it improves people's lives. Strong public investment management helps governments choose the right projects, prepare them well, and then implement them efficiently, and then sustain their benefits over time. Third, climate responsive PFM to turn climate finance into real results. Climate change is now a fiscal and development challenge. It affects revenues, expenditures, public assets, debt sustainability, food security, livelihoods, and long-term growth. At ADB, we're scaling up our support for climate action across the region, climate action and including resilience. But finance alone is really not enough. Climate finance must not stop at the commitment, but it must actually reach the communities. So governments need to integrate climate priorities into planning, budgeting, investment decisions, procurement, reporting, and accountability. Climate responsive PFM should not become a parallel system. It should strengthen the core systems and help governments make better decisions through existing public finance institutions. I'm really pleased to see the work that PFM is actually launching in 2024. So fourth, transparency and accountability to build public trust. PFM is also about trust. Citizens need confidence that public resources are being used effectively and efficiently. Parliaments need reliable information to exercise oversight. Investors, of course, need confidence in fiscal transparency. Development partners need assurance that financing supports them the intended results. Transparency is the currency of trust. This requires credible budgets, timely reporting, effective procurement, sound internal controls, independent audit, legislative oversight, and then follow up on audit findings. PFM systems really need to show not only how money is spent, but what are the results achieved. And this is where PEFA continues to play a really vital role. It provides a structured and evidence-based way to really understand the strengths, weaknesses, and reform priorities across the PFM cycle. It helps governments and partners move from diagnoses to action and from action to measurable institutional progress. Fifth, digital PFM to improve efficiency and service delivery. As we know, digital transformation can make public finance faster, more transparent, and then more connected. It's really critical for better budget execution, faster payments, particularly in crisis situations, more transparent procurement, stronger revenue administration, and better fiscal reporting. But digital transformation is really not just only about technology. It's really about improving how government works, making it better. And it requires entire institutional ownership and coordination, simplified processes, reliable data, cybersecurity, which is very critical, as you all know, change management, and then sustained capacity building. As we look ahead, the message is really clear. The future of PFM must be more resilient, more transparent, more climate responsive, and more digitally enabled, and more focused on development results. PEFA has helped the global community build a shared diagnostic foundation. The next challenge really is to ensure that diagnostics lead to reforms, reforms then lead to stronger institutions, and stronger institutions lead to better results for people. As a new PEFA partner, ADB is committed to contributing actively to this next phase. We bring our regional presence, country partnerships, operational experience, and development finance instruments to help translate PEFA diagnostics into practical reform and then stronger institutions. So let me just close with 3 messages. First, PEFA has made a lasting contribution by giving countries and partners a common framework to assess and strengthen public financial management. Second, PFM is really central to the future development agenda in Asia and the Pacific, from fiscal resilience and climate action to infrastructure, service delivery, transparency, and public trust. Third, as a new PEFA partner, ADB is committed to working with the PEFA Secretariat, PEFA partners, and then our developing member countries to turn diagnostics into reforms, reforms into stronger institutions, and then stronger institutions into better lives for people. Stronger systems, better choices, better services, and then better lives. On this 25th anniversary, let us celebrate PEFA's achievements, renew our commitment to the partnership, and look forward to the next generation of PFM reforms. Reforms that help governments deliver not only stronger systems, but better development outcomes across Asia and the Pacific. Congratulations, and thank you so much.
Thank you very much, DG Christine, for your valuable insights. We now arrive at another key highlight of today's program. Joining us is an esteemed panel of distinguished leaders and practitioners who have been at the forefront of PFM reform. To moderate this important discussion, it is our pleasure to have Mr. Tariq Niazi, ADB Senior Director for Public Sector Management and Governance, and Mr. Serdar Yilmaz, World Bank Global Practice Manager.
Introducing our distinguished panel, starting with the OIC Undersecretary of the Department of the Finance of the Philippines, Mr. Nino Raymond Alvina, Provincial Finance Secretary of Nepal, Mr. Ram Kumar Mahato, and the Head of Division of the Department of Budget of Kazakhstan, Ms. Bekezi Ayoli. May we now invite our moderators and panelists to please come on stage.
Good morning to everyone. It is my great pleasure to welcome you all to this panel discussion in the PFM week that we are celebrating in Manila to celebrate PEFA's 25th anniversary. This is also a special moment for ADB. ADB joined PEFA in 2025. And to reaffirm its support for better financial institutions, for fiscal governance, and for assuring that results reach the common people through our reforms. PEFA has been a very important diagnostic tool that ADB has been using before we joined formally. So just to give couple of examples. Since the mid-2000s, the PEFA exercise that was led by World Bank, but we joined from ADB side as partners and along with the government of Philippines. That was the first PEFA exercise that enabled us to design a few macro-fiscal programs focusing on the core areas of public financial management. Then that really went on, and we moved from that initial PEFA diagnostics to where we are now. The PFM reform program that the government of Philippines has commissioned, that is also ADB is making sure that the recommendations, they get implemented, they get translated into reform priorities, they get to the policy options that have been recommended. So we have a series of PFM programs now. These are third generation programs that ADB is doing with the government of the Philippines. And they are the ones that now taking more and more PEFA plus approach. The common objective that ADB, World Bank, and all the development financial institutions share is to bring better services to the citizens to improve their lives. For that, it is important that public financial management that runs at the core of many of these government systems and operations that can determine how well the resources, public finance resources are being prioritized, how well they are being spent, and what is the credibility of the budget operations and the treasury execution operations, and how then they get translated into on-ground results. I'll just again welcome the three panelists from the government side, and these are, we thought that we will have a first-hand view of how they see PEFA assessments and how they see it contributing to the reform priorities of the government. It is my pleasure to welcome Nino Raymond Alvina, OIC Undersecretary, Department of Finance, Philippines. Ram Kumar Mohato, Provincial Finance Secretary, Nepal. Ms. Bakhtabez Ayuli, Head of Division, Department of Budget, Kazakhstan. It is also my pleasure to welcome the co-moderator of this session, Mr. Sardar Yilmaz, who is the Global Practice Manager from the World Bank. Sardar, if you have any opening remarks. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Thank you, Tarek, and thank you all of you, and good morning to everyone. It's a great pleasure for the World Bank to join ADB, as well as country representatives and all of the PEFA partners for this important anniversary session. The World Bank and Asian Development Bank share a common development mission. We both support countries in strengthening their institutions. We both help countries in their efforts to reduce poverty, and we also help countries to build resilient institutions. And all of these, we hope they will help to improve development outcomes. Strong public financial management systems are critical to that mission. Linking policy priorities with public resources is important to achieve results on the ground. Over the past 25 years, PEFA has provided a common, credible, and evidence-based framework to assess PFM performance. However, its real value lies not in the assessment itself, but in how the findings are used, meaning how to guide the reforms and strengthen public financial management institutions to improve transparency and to support better service delivery. Today, we will focus on that journey in 3 countries. They will tell us their stories from assessment to action and from PFM performance to development outcomes. And with that, I'm looking forward to hearing from the country experiences on what has worked and what challenges remain and how PEFA can contribute further to achieve more results on the ground. Tarek, over to you. Let's begin with the questions.
Thank you, Sardar. So my first question to the 3 representatives of the governments is, as Sardar mentioned, and as has been mentioned, that this marks the 25th year of PEFA assessments and existence of PEFA. So in these, and it has come about to be the most widely used, one of the most widely used global frameworks for assessing public financial management systems. From your country's experience, what has been PEFA's greatest value? Diagnosing system performance, prioritizing reforms, strengthening accountability, or mobilizing development partner support? I can start with
Thank you. Good morning, dear ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I would like to express my sincere gratitude to the Asian Development Bank and the PEFA Secretariat and all partners for the kind invitation to participate in this important event celebrating the milestone of PEFA. As for your question, from Kazakhstan's experience, the greatest value of the PEFA assessments has been its role in diagnosing PFM system performance in a structured and comparable way. In Kazakhstan, PEFA assessments have helped provide a clear, evidence-based snapshot of how the PFM system is functioning across key areas such as budget credibility, transparency, cash management, procurement, and fiscal strategy. This kind of standardized diagnostic is particularly valuable because it allows policymakers to see not only individual weaknesses, but also how different parts of the system interact and where bottlenecks actually originate. While other benefits have also been important, such as supporting reform discussions and helping development partners align their support, the most immediate and consistently useful contribution has been the objective baseline it provides for understanding system performance over time. In practice, this has helped government institutions and stakeholders move from general perceptions of what is not working to a more precise, measurable understanding of where improvements are needed and whether reforms are producing results. So.
Thank you very much. And yeah, the evidence-based, that is the biggest take from Kazakhstan. Can we move on to Nepal, Mr. Mohta?
Thank you very much. Nepal is practicing a federal system of governance, and it has not even been 1 decade of practicing federalism. And among 7 provinces in Nepal, 2 provinces have completed a sub-national PEFA assessment, and 1 is Madhya province. And for Nepal, PEFA's greatest value has been building consensus and prioritizing reforms during our transition to federalism. And it provided a neutral, data-driven framework that helped central government and provincial government cooperate. And it turned complex transitional checklist into a step-by-step roadmap. And it aligned donor funding behind our actual priorities. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Undersecretary Alvina, please.
First of all, good morning, everyone. And I'd like to thank ADB for allowing the Philippines to showcase our experience with PEFA. To answer Tarik's question, I have a hard time selecting only one because the greatest value of PEFA is the convergence of everything that you have mentioned, setting the diagnostic, providing the conversation, leading to reform actions, monitoring, and creating greater awareness across stakeholders. But I think what is very evident is in the case of the Philippines, when we did 3 PEFA assessments in 2010, 2016, and 2024-25, we have this common evidence and common basis, rather, for checking whether we are improving from the last assessment to where we are now, and that having the ability to expand. I think that is the value that we see in PEFA as the terrain changes, as the development priorities increase, we are able to expand and build on other frameworks along with the basic framework of PEFA. So beyond looking at the results of PEFA as a yardstick or scorecard view, we look at it as a shared diagnosis across different institutions, benchmarking on global standards, best practices, and verifiable indicators. It helped us move from knowing or understanding impressions or anecdotes to evidence and call to action. I think I should also add that PEFA helped strengthen the reform consensus. As mentioned yesterday, it's very timely that as we have set the Philippine government through the leadership of our president, set the PFM roadmap, PEFA came in at a very auspicious time and very strategic input as we did our midterm review of our assessment of our roadmap. So in other words, the technical activities that we have gone through the PEFA exercise was converted into meaningful conversations, shared agreements, call to action, and ensuring that the things that we are doing across using the lens of PFM will ultimately translate into impact for the Filipino people. So I think that in a nutshell is a combination of all the values that PEFA have given to our government. Thank you.
Thank you, Undersecretary Alvina. So just to stay with you and just to give you an opportunity to talk about more, you found the first question a little bit constraining. So it's about the PEFA plus that Philippines is one of those countries that has embarked on PEFA plus exercise. So, and that has helped in putting forward this public financial management roadmap. From a government leadership perspective, what are the most important reform priorities emerging from the PEFA exercise to ensure that public resources are used more transparently, efficiently, and effectively for citizens? Thank you.
Yeah, so I've mentioned about the PEFA and the results of our midterm review, and I think what is emerging as priorities is how we will translate the results of the PEFA assessments, feed it into the PFM roadmap, and recalibrate our strategies so that we can attain our goals under the Philippine Development Plan, under the PFM roadmap by 2028, and making this measurable and felt. In the last assessment, we've seen that 20 of the 31 indicators, the Philippines is faring above average, above the basic level of performance, and that is one thing that is driving us to improve better, especially in areas where we deem we should further improve. Maybe I'd focus on at least 3 areas and how we will do it. First would be on fiscal discipline. From our perspective, we want to see greater connectivity on the information and how we respond to this information, on the revenue that we collect, on the budgets that we prepare and implement, on the assets that we manage, on the debt financing strategies, the risks aligned with it, and the promises that we want to deliver to the Filipino people. So we want to calibrate them and feed them into the existing planning and budgeting frameworks of our government in the MPFF, in the PDP, and even at the subnational level. The second point is building stronger linkages between planning, budgeting, implementation, and results. I think I mentioned this yesterday, that we should also look at the strong nexus between local or the subnational and the national priorities, because people feel services first at the ground level. And this is something that we can further improve on, considering the other fiscal pressures from climate change, external shocks, among others. The third emerging priority is digitalizing our PFM systems. The systems that we have, like the IFMIS, the BTMS, that the Department of Budget and Management is scaling for adoption of government agencies, will be certainly transformational. But I agree with the findings of the World Bank that this IFMIS systems should not just be treated as a matter of automation or procurement, but really as an institutional reform priority of any government. The last thing is probably just on managing our debts, the fiscal risks, and how we tie this to the overall strategies. And of course, recognizing that these emerging priorities need continued support and guidance from our development partners and from our peers who have well advanced in their PEFA and PFM goals and objectives.
Thank you very much. I'll pass on to Sardar.
Thank you. Now we move from Philippines to Kazakhstan, and I'm going to ask a difficult question to Ayavul Bakıtbek kızı. I know that Kazakhstan has just finished the PEFA assessment, and in fact, I think the Secretariat has received the green light from the government to publish it a month ago. So it's very recent, very fresh. And the results are quite strong. And on technical side of issues, whether it is budget execution, fiscal discipline, internal controls, Kazakhstan has very good results from PEFA assessment. And I know that there is a lot of reform activity going on in Kazakhstan right now in the public sector in general, SOEs, even subnational governments, you are looking into reform areas. But specific to PFM, how are you going to link the PEFA assessment findings and the strengths into PFM programs to achieve more service delivery and development outcomes?
Thank you, Mr. Serdar. Thank you for the question. I want to notice that this is Kazakhstan's third national PEFA assessment, following the earlier assessments in 2009 and 2018. This continuity is important in itself. It shows the government's commitment to regularly benchmark its PFM system against recognized international standards and to use PEFA as an evidence base for reform. Kazakhstan has a relatively well-established PFM architecture, where the Ministry of Finance plays a central role in budget preparation, execution, treasury operations, accounting, reporting, public procurement policy, and internal public audit, while the Ministry of National Economy has an important role in macroeconomic and fiscal forecasting, strategic planning, budget policy, intergovernmental fiscal relations, and public investmental appraisal. At the same time, improving spending quality and accountability is not the task of the ministry alone. It requires a joint effort across the cabinet of ministries, the Supreme Audit Chamber, Parliament, and local executive bodies. The positive PEFA shows that Kazakhstan has strong foundations in budget execution, fiscal discipline, revenue administration, and internal controls. The next step is to use these systems more actively to support better spending choices, stronger links between strategic priorities and budget allocations, and clearer evidence on what public programs deliver. Ministry of Finance has prepared an internal action plan, like a roadmap, to address PEFA findings, including measures to improve revenue forecasting, strengthen the use of economic clarification during budget process preparation, enhance the completeness of budget documentation, address issues related to operations outside central government financial reports, improve public investment management, and further strengthen debt management, accounting, reporting, audit follow-up, and procurement practices. These are practical examples of how PEFA findings can be translated into government action. On accountability, Kazakhstan already has important channels to build on, including publication of citizen budgets, public access to budget information through government portals, open data, public procurement platforms, published audit and budget execution materials, and the gradual implementation of participatory budgeting at the local level. The reform challenge now is to bring these elements together so that accountability is not limited to compliance with rules, but also helps citizens and decision makers understand whether public money is improving service infrastructure and outcomes. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Let's move to Nepal and discuss subnational. A little bit background on Nepal. Nepal had a constitutional change in 2015, moved from a very centralized structure to a federal structure, and established 3 levels of government. And Mr. Mahato right now is coming from a provincial level, and the provinces did not exist in the previous times. It's They were introduced with the new constitution, and they were considered at the time one of the weakest part of the system. And in fact, for a long time, I think the provinces didn't even have names. They were called province 1, 2, 3, 7, all the way 7. Now they have names, and Mr. Mahato comes from Madhya province, and he's going to tell us the gaps identified by subnational PEFA, which did not feature into the national PEFA, and tell us how you use the PEFA assessments in your province to strengthen PFM systems.
Thank you for the next question. While national data looked good on paper, our subnational PEFA assessment in Madhya province exposed some critical gaps, and among the major gaps, the digital illusion. That is, central government has sophisticated software, and they were implemented in provinces and local level too. And these important softwares was useless because local staff lacked proper training. And other gaps is late budget, and local government and provincial government were forced to plan budget before the central government gave them spending caps. Likewise, other gaps was hidden risk, like off-budget entities made up of 10% of spending, creating massive blind spots. Likewise, poor planning, infrastructure projects lacked proper economic studies and public insights. And we found a lack of implementation of political and administrative commitment. Then we found a lack of institutional memory. So these were the major gaps we found in subnational PEFA assessment. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. OIC, Alvina, my second question to you is, again, staying on the PEFA++, and drawing on the Philippines' experience with gender-responsive budgeting and the broader PEFA work on gender, climate, and disaster-responsive PFM. What lessons can Philippines share with other countries on using PF systems to advance inclusion, resilience, and better service delivery outcomes, since Philippines is quite in the front running on some of these plus assessments? Thank you.
Thank you for the question. I think I would easily respond by saying that we build into the PFM framework the aspects of resilience, gender responsiveness, even a child PFM policy, and view it from the lens of how we translate goals, programs, projects in these sectors from a PFM lens. Are there resources? Are the resources being mobilized? And are these resources translated into meaningful programs or impactful activities? So when we did the plus in PEFA, it is very helpful for us to take a closer look on how we are mobilizing PFM tools and systems in these areas. So let me just focus on the three items one at a time. For the gender responsive budgeting, climate responsive PFM, and disaster responsive PFM, what we did is mainstreaming them into the mission centers of government agencies. Earlier, before this session, I had a good chance of chatting with local government officials from different parts of the country and telling me their issues and concerns on early childhood or child PFM policy, how they set up the special health fund, the need to build resilience, and how they utilize local disaster risk and reduction management fund, among others. So as we included these sectors in the PFM assessments, we were able to know that at the local level, there are strong areas by which these are the PFM observed the priorities from these sectors, but collectively at the national level, maybe that is a gap or an area for improvement. We've also seen how tagging has been useful in these sectors, budget tagging and monitoring. So for example, we can take a look at and track spending for climate projects, for special education, for special health fund of local governments, as well as how the national government is funding these priority areas. So tagging alone is good as a diagnostic tool, but this is not enough. I think the results that we're seeing from the expenditure analysis will be able to help us come up with more coherent and integrated approach or policies between national and local priorities. From our experience, these surface a lot of, I think I should say, greater transparency and accountability on how we are funding gender, disaster, climate, and child PFM priorities, and whether the resources that we are mobilizing are actually being felt and reaching ground level communities.
Thank you. On climate in Kazakhstan, I know that the PEFA assessment included PEFA module as well, and the PEFA module suggested that the national strategies in the fight against climate change have been very well reflected, but it also highlighted the need for better integrating climate considerations into budget guidance, into expenditure tracking, public investment appraisals, and reporting. What kind of work going on in Kazakhstan right now to integrate these dimensions into PFM systems so that Kazakhstan can fight climate change and achieve its NDCs?
Thank you for the question. Kazakhstan's climate PEFA is the first is in the country's first climate responsive PFM assessment, and like the national PEFA, it demonstrates the government's commitment to aligning public finance with long-term policy priorities and international good practice. It's particularly relevant because Kazakhstan has adopted the strategy for achieving carbon neutrality by 2060, adopted by our president, approved, and has also elevated the climate and environmental agendas through regional dialogue, including the Regional Ecological Summit held in Astana in partnership with the United Nations. The summit themes climate transition, adaptation and resilience, sustainable infrastructure, food security, natural resource management, green finance, air pollution, waste management, and a just and inclusive transition show that climate action is not only an environmental issue, but also a fiscal, investment, sectoral and regional development issue. Institutionally, climate policy in Kazakhstan involves several agencies. The Ministry of Ecology and Natural Resources leads on environmental and climate policies. The Ministry of National Economy plays a key role in strategic planning, macro-fiscal policy and public investment appraisal. And the Ministry of Finance is responsible for embedding climate considerations into the budget. Reporting, treasury and accountability systems, while sector ministers and local governments implement many of the climate-related programs and investments. For this reason, climate-responsive PFM should not be developed as a parallel process or and in a silo. The priority should be to integrate climate considerations into the regular budget process cycle through budget circulars, program budgeting, public investment appraisal, fiscal risk analysis, expenditure tracking, procurement and reporting. Practical Kazakhstan's climate PEFA shows that we are on the right track. Approach would be to agree on a simple methodology for identifying climate-related expenditures, pilot climate tagging in selected sectors, reflect climate risks and mitigation or adaptation benefits in major investment proposals, and gradually include climate-related performance information in budget reports. This will require strong interagency coordination, particularly among the major ministries and local governments. The objective should be to make climate considerations a routine part of budget and investment decisions so that Kazakhstan can track not only climate commitments, but also whether public spending supports resilience, low carbon growth, and better long-term value for citizens.
Great, thank you. Mr. Mahato, as I mentioned, in 2015, Nepal has moved to a federal system, and it's very important for Nepal to make the federal system work. And part of the federalism is the fiscal federalism, as you know. And my question to you is, in Nepal's experience, how can the both national and subnational PEFA assessments can help to improve not only the PFM systems themselves, but also the functioning of the federal system, especially the accountability across different levels of government?
Thank you. And from our experience, it can be reframing the narrative from inputs to human outcomes. Likewise, connecting digital reform to tangible public saving. It can be positioning subnational PFM as the anchor of democracy, legitimacy, and then shifting from auditor mentality to a learning approach. Likewise, focus on people, not just providing connecting a financial role to local democracy. PFM as for subnational bodies, it is as a shield against crisis. So there should be a strong intergovernmental relations. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So let me thank our panelists and representatives from the government. And we have heard from the Philippines how PEFA Plus, especially on gender and climate considerations, has been helping the government in determining its priorities. From Kazakhstan, we have heard about, again, about climate fiscal and how it will be used in the next set of reforms that the government is embarking on. And the interesting Nepal has recently moved to federal system, and how the federal assessments and the subnational assessments are paving way for further reforms. So let me thank Undersecretary Alvina, Secretary Mahato, and Ms. Ayoli for their insightful observations and for their sharing their experiences from their countries. As a fiscal policy and PFM practitioner for the last many years, I'll also kind of share my experience in overall working in the countries, and of course in interacting with other development partners and PEFA and the use of the PEFA tool. So going forward, so 25 years, it has a lot of good things, notable things to look back to. Going forward, some of things that we would we have observed and we would suggest is PEFA not to lose its core focus on diagnostics, and that diagnostics is, as I mentioned earlier, it's important to feed into the design of the program, the structural reform programs that we do. And for that matter, this broad diagnostics and analytics, that gives us a very solid footing. And as over the years, as has been mentioned, this has evolved into a very credible source of comparison of reforms or a progression of reforms within the same country. We do use more deep dive tools on, for instance, climate fiscal, on debt sustainability analysis, to really bridge that gap and to go more into the reforms that the country is prioritizing and the country is the needs at that moment. So that is one important that we would like that to bridge that gap between diagnostics and analytics, as it could contribute directly to most of the reform programs that are being undertaken by different institutions. Another thing that we have also, and we have been sharing this, is the why of these reforms. So what is happening in a particular time frame and how it has evolved. The why that it's correct that we supply most of the why, but the country context is really important in determining and coming up with the structural reform priorities, and also in providing the policy advice to the various governments. For that, kind of a differentiated approach on different levels of development, and with a more flexible scoring system that is kind of used within a particular bracket, that could be something that going forward PEFA could look more into, because country context, as I said, that determines most of our entry-level reform initiatives, and how and long and how much the impact these reforms would have in going forward. Let me thank everyone for their participation, and let me again thank the panelists. Sardar, if you would like to add anything.
No. Thank you for your time and your insights. I think this was really helpful to particularly the audience. They are assuming they are going to go through an assessment process themselves. So this is quite important. And it's also important to build the PFM community so that we learn from each other's experience and lessons learned, and so that we don't make the same mistakes. We keep continuing. And with that, I'm assuming we are going to invite our PEFA partners for keynote messages. We have PEFA Secretariat partners. We are going to start with European Union, or is it? I'm looking at the list here. You are first, Eric. Who's going to make that?
Our appreciation to our moderators and panelists. As we continue our celebration of PEFA's 25th anniversary, we would love to hear from our valued PEFA partners. Without further ado, it's my pleasure to invite Mr. Eric de Schoonmaker from the European Commission.
Well, good morning and thank you again. Difficult not to repeat what has already been said this morning after all these speeches, but once again, happy birthday, and once again, congratulations for the achievement over the last 25 years. And I must say the EU, the European Union, is quite proud and happy to have been part of this long journey since the very beginning. But the journey is not over. And I think we still have to look forward. Because while we, and I think we need to be extremely lucid, pragmatic, and realistic. Because while we see that indeed, globally, there has been progress on PFM all over the world, we also still see that often PFM reforms are rather slow, or at least slower than what we expect. That some PFM dimensions are still lagging behind. We also see that they are reversible in some cases, and that in many, and in particular in low-income countries, some of the basics PFM are still not in place. So we still have a lot of work to do. At the same time, we are also in a fast-changing world. Needless to say that it's more volatile and more unpredictable in many respects. The donor community is also changing. Less resources, more transactional, focusing on mutual interest, and that has an impact. We also see that digitalization and artificial intelligence will have a huge impact on public finance management. So we have to define on how we position the PEFA in this new evolving context. And my feeling is that PEFA and PFM are probably more important than ever. Because we need strong and stable institutions to navigate in that context. Institutions that can guarantee transparency, efficiency, equity, accountability, and more importantly, and it was well said yesterday during the Philippine case, contribute to improving the lives of citizens. So on our side, from the European Union, we are really fully committed to continue supporting PFM improvements and the PEFA. We are also extremely happy to see important new partners joining the initiatives, but the challenges are still huge. So let us continue to work this journey together, jointly, to make PFM and PEFA a global public good at the service of all our citizens around the world, and probably for the next 25 years. Thank you.
Mr. Skonmaker. Next, we invite Mr. Sailendra Patnaik from the International Monetary Fund.
Okay, good morning to everyone. So first of all, I would like to congratulate really the broader PEFA community for going through these 25 years. And as I was listening to Srini presenting the evolution over 25 years, it has really matured itself, the framework. It started at the very beginning with some initial elements, and now it has matured. So, I mean, actually, I was, my first IMF mission when I started, it was 2006. And I was asked to really do a little bit of a diagnosis of the PFM downstream side, you know, like budget controls and cash management, fiscal reporting, etc. I thought, okay, I have to use some structure to do these diagnostics. So at that time, the PEFA was kind of nascent framework at the time, and I thought, why not use the PEFA framework? And so I used that. So my association with PEFA goes right to its beginning. And so basically I would say that PEFA actually, as we see today, it turns out as a unique and durable sort of partnership, and it brings together nicely the international institutions, IMF, World Bank, now Asian Development Bank is a key partner, European Union, but also a number of countries and other donors together around a shared framework to do PFM diagnostics. Because as Rini said, I think there are multiple diagnostic instruments, it's confusing, different approaches. So that is the strength of PEFA, and it has created really a common language for reform, and it has strengthened evidence-based assessments, policy dialogue with country authorities, and helps with coordination amongst partners, development partners, where to focus on in terms of supporting countries for PFM reform. And as a result, it has reduced a lot of fragmentation, right? So IMF, from the IMF side, it has been a core founding partner right from the beginning of the PEFA in 2001 when the discussion started. And it has contributed a lot to its governance, strategic direction, and methodological development. And operationally also, we have played a very important role in assessing, reviewing, and partnering with PEFA assessments across countries. So, and we also, over the years, as I think it came up in some of the other interventions, several other diagnostic tools have emerged. As I would say, they have their own purpose and complementary. So PEFA is a kind of a very foundational diagnostic tool, common diagnostic tool for assessing the PFM performance across the PFM cycle. It basically identifies what are the key strengths, weaknesses, what are the gaps. But then you need something, once you know what, then need to know why those gaps exist. So this is where much deeper dive diagnostics are required. Like, you know, some of the other development partners, they use their own. IMF has, for example, developed the fiscal transparency evaluation after the 2008 financial crisis, because we realized that, you know, number of countries with a lot of hidden debt, hidden liabilities, which sort of were not reported, not known, and suddenly they materialized. A lot of fiscal risks which were hidden, they materialized. So that goes into, and Philippines actually did one of those in 2015. So that goes much deeper to identify some of the key weaknesses in fiscal transparency accountability. Similarly, in 2015, we developed what we call the Public Investment Management Framework, looking at 15 institutions across the public investment management cycle, from planning to allocation to implementation. We're taking a deeper dive into specific public investment management issues. So together, I think looking at this broader diagnostic tool and the other complementary diagnostic tools together, they would inform the development of roadmaps. So from that perspective, so I would say that while PEFA scores provide a very useful snapshot, of performance, perhaps it's now a moment of reflection. We have come a long way. We have achieved a lot. Now going forward for the next 25 years, what should be our direction? So this is where I would say that, it will be important. It will be important to look beyond the scores to underline what are the underlying drivers, why the reforms are not progressing as we'd expect to be. I recall there was a nice blog, I think, Srini, you did, sort of analyzing, basically using the PEFA data, how the country's reforms have progressed over the years. So as you see that, it looks that the actual progress is much less than expected. So there is something, some more things remains to be done. So this is where I think the contextual approach which Tarek, you suggested, looking at, what is specific, each country context has its own underlying drivers. And so this is where we have to look maybe a little deeper and how PEFA can help with that. So maybe that's something to consider going forward. So therefore, finally, I would say that, going forward, it will be important to preserve PEFA's core strength as a gold standard of the robust diagnostic tool of PFM performance assessments. And the emphasis should continue to remain on quality. So you mentioned now the 2014 PEFA check has strengthened that, and comparability and usability so that it can be more used by authorities and development partners for developing reform roadmaps, while strengthening at the same time the second objective to strengthening further the links with other deeper diagnostic tools, and then more systematic identification, articulation of the underlying institutional, political, and drivers which stalls reforms and hinders reform progress. And my final message will be that at the same time, we also have to be a little bit cautious in terms of the tendency. Sometimes when we achieve a lot, and it's natural, there is always an excitement to expand further. So I would put a cautious note here that perhaps the PEFA should avoid overextending into too many areas, focus on its main strength, and as a core mandate as the gold standard diagnostic tool, and not a substitute for broader PFM standards which are already out there. So I'll stop there, but I will again wish all the best, and I hope that after the next 25 years, we'll again celebrate with a much richer and much helpful PEFA framework. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Patnaik. Ladies and gentlemen, let's also welcome Mr. Benoit Biely from the French Development Agency.
Good morning, everyone. First, let me once again extend my heartfelt thanks to ADB for hosting and organizing this entire PEFA week so brilliantly. It's been an absolute pleasure and a fantastic opportunity to discuss how, as donors, we can continue to mobilize and join forces to support public financial management. So big thank you. 25 years, a quarter century of progress, and I want to believe that the best is yet to come. So it's a true honor to be here today with you, celebrating this multi-donor initiative that has grown over the years into a global standard, and more than that, a public good, accessible, useful, and open to everyone, everywhere. I would also like to take a moment to congratulate the PEFA Secretariat for their tireless work, as well as all the experts who've dedicated themselves to conducting assessments, and of course, the countries that have embraced PEFA to strengthen the transparency, efficiency, and performance of their PFM system. This is a collective work and a collective success we can all be proud of. France has been a committed supporter of the PEFA initiative since day one, back in 2001. And we remain committed to its mission of guardian and promoter of the PEFA methodology. Over the years, the French Development Agency Group has also supported numerous PEFA assessments, including climate and gender modules, and the strategies and roadmap that followed, always alongside other steering committee members. And let me say this again, and again, this partnership-driven approach is more essential today than ever. Why? Because in a world where development financing is under increasing pressure, joining forces and coordinating our support is fundamental and not an option anymore. And PEFA is a powerful tool to help making that happen. PEFA assessments create a unique platform for policy dialogue and engagement on PFM, something we see firsthand every day in the field, whether with our country partners or with international development partners who, like us, are committed to advancing PFM reforms and, in the end, quality service delivery. And last but not least, PEFA assessments are also fundamental and vital for a development bank like the French Development Agency across all the geographies in which we operate for a simple reason. It provides, above all, a snapshot capturing at a given moment the exact state of a country's PFM system. It enables us to identify the strengths and weaknesses of existing arrangements, and in doing so, to make informed decisions on the priority reforms needed to address the most pressing challenges and to design impactful solutions with our partners. So I will stop here and wish the PEFA initiative at least another 25 years of success and impact for the people. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Vili. Finally, I would like to invite Mr. Hans Christian Baumann from the Embassy of Switzerland in the Philippines.
Distinguished colleagues, PEFA partners, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. On behalf of Switzerland, let me first congratulate PEFA on this 25th anniversary and on these 902 assessments concluded. What an impressive achievement. I would also like to thank the PEFA Secretariat and ADB for this kind invitation. It's a great pleasure to be here and represent Switzerland and the Swiss Embassy in Manila. Over the past quarter century, PEFA has become the global reference point for understanding and improving public financial management. Many describe PEFA as the health check of public finances, and this is certainly true. But from a Swiss perspective, PEFA also matters for a deeper reason. I was asked to deliver a key message today, and my key message is, at its core, public financial management is about trust. Trust is essential. In times of economic uncertainty, climate pressures, and growing demands on governments, citizens need confidence that public resources are managed responsibly, transparently, and effectively. Obviously, trust is not built through speeches. It is built when governments can demonstrate that public funds are used for the public good. For Switzerland, this message resonates very strongly. As many of you might know, my country is primarily associated with mountains, watches, chocolate, and perhaps cows walking around wearing cowbells that look just a bit too heavy. But perhaps our most valuable national asset is trust. Trust in institutions and trust that rules apply equally to everyone, and trust in public finances. Of course, this trust in our experience did not emerge overnight. It has been built over generations through accountability, transparency, and responsible stewardship of public resources. And this is exactly why PEFA matters so much, because it helps countries strengthen the foundations of trust. And there's another lesson from 25 years of PEFA. A PEFA assessment alone does not reform public finances. People do. The most successful PEFA processes are those that bring together ministries of finance, line ministries, Supreme audit institutions, parliaments, civil society, and development partners around a shared understanding of challenges and a common path for reform. Public financial management is not only a technical agenda, it's an ecosystem agenda. As we look to the future, PEFA's continued relevance will depend not only on the quality of its diagnostics, but on its ability to foster this kind of dialogue, ownership, and collective action around reform. Because stronger public financial management ultimately means stronger institutions, stronger trust, and thereby better outcomes for citizens. Once again, congratulations and thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bowman. And thank you to all our partners for your continued support, collaboration, and shared commitment towards PEFA's success. Ladies and gentlemen, another round of applause for our PEFA partners.
As we draw this special occasion to a close, we reflect on the remarkable journey of PEFA over the past 25 years, a journey marked by collaboration, innovation, and a strong commitment to strengthening public financial management systems. To deliver the closing remarks, let us welcome ADB Director General for Procurement, Portfolio, and Financial Management, Aman Trana.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. I am the last speaker, so you may be somewhat relieved at that. And at my advanced age, it's hard to sit for that long and not get a little stiff, so I'm glad to be finally standing. I think, as Eric said, I'm not sure what more I can say that has not already been said. But as we were all speaking and I was watching the panel, I started taking some notes, and essentially, I hope my colleagues don't mind, but essentially in real time, I rewrote the speech that they had given me. Because I think you've heard all about transparency and tools and modules and frameworks. And so I really wanted to reflect a little bit as we close today on the quality of the work we're doing and the value that it adds, which is, I think, something we must consistently focus on. And as a fan of alliteration, as a fan of key messaging, I thought about, wow, I could really leave you with some core messages. And I think it's something what I've been talking about all week. PFM requires us to be positive, persistent, and patient. Positive because the nature of the work that we inherently do with governments, with countries that are subject to political economy issues, requires us to always be positive and not let cynicism take hold. Because often cynicism can take hold as we work on very challenging reforms. Sometimes there's 2 steps up, 4 steps back, but we cannot give up on this. Because it's so critical that the work that we're doing, that we're trying to do with our counterparts, that there's no room to be negative and be cynical and say this won't work or this is not worth it and you know, it'll never happen. That's where persistence comes in. The work that we're doing, that we're collectively trying to do, is not something that gets done in a month, a year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. It really is, as many of the examples we've heard from Nepal, from Kazakhstan, and from the Philippines, this is work that takes years, perhaps decades. We may start it, someone else will finish it, and that's perfectly fine, but someone has to start it. And someone has to be persistent enough to see it through as governments change, as priorities change, as we change. I have a role today, I may have a different one tomorrow. We must institutionalize this level of thinking and ensure that in all our organizations, particularly in the development organizations, the donors, that the attention to these issues is not lost. As many of us have mentioned, there are changing priorities right now, as Benoit just mentioned. There are changing priorities on where the resources are allocated, who works on it, which region gets attention. But we in this field have to remain persistent to ensure that the attention to these issues remains. And of course, what's very much connected to being positive and being persistent is being patient. Things take time. If we rush it, we don't get it right, but if we're too slow, nothing happens. So how do we find that right balance? So I think a lot of what folks have been talking about here today is really related to those issues of persistence, patience, and overall positivity. I think that's very important. The second thing I specifically want to mention is keeping it real. We have heard a lot about tools and modules and frameworks and guidance materials and all that good stuff. As someone from the Philippines counterpart said yesterday on the panel, which really resonated with me, is when you are a citizen and there's been a tsunami or there's been a typhoon or there's been an earthquake, you're not going to reach for a roadmap. You're not going to reach for a framework, nor should they. That's our job. And that requires a preparation. So we must keep it real. We must keep the end person in mind as we're doing our work, which again goes back to cynicism. If you're feeling cynical, if you're feeling like this is never going to have any impact, do think about the people's lives that we're trying to affect, the citizens. We are very privileged, I think, in this room that usually those type of disasters, we kind of come through it all right. But there's many millions and millions of people, including in the country that I call home, that don't make it out as well as we do. And we have to ensure that our work is focused on them and not perhaps our internal bureaucracies and our internal politics and our internal ambitions, but really about the people for which we are trying to do this. That is the inherent nature of development work. And it's very important to remind yourself of that on a regular basis. Lastly, what I want to mention is maintaining momentum. It is very easy, again, to link it back to the cynicism of it and the positivity of it, to lose momentum. What I really want to come from this week, these last 3 or 4 days, which I think have really brought a lot of very important attention on the PFM issues that I think the ADB perhaps was not paying as much attention to. And maybe the donors weren't, not that we weren't paying attention, but it's just consolidated this week into so many real examples, whether it's Philippines, Nepal, Kazakhstan, to have our development partners here, to have the Secretariat and all of you here learning. I think if we can all go back to our home countries and maintain the momentum, maintain the learning, I think it would be really, really amazing the results that we can do collectively. And I think that goes back to what VPHK said yesterday about networking and talking to each other and making connections. So I really hope we maintain that momentum, and then certainly we will try to do so in this organization and certainly working with the PEFA Secretariat. As we mentioned yesterday, we're so pleased to be the first regional bank that's a member of PEFA, and we really hope to leverage that relationship and our contributions to it and our work with it for the betterment of the citizens in the region in which we're working. So with that, I'll go back to some of my formal notes now. So really want to thank all of you for your attention. I think the panel was excellent to bring it to life. And I think we're very pleased. We look forward to working with the PEFA Secretariat and development partners to translate the PEFA work into meaningful reforms and actions. And so let me congratulate, as everyone else has, on PEFA and the 25 years of partnership. I think, I'm not sure, was it Salendra who said we'll see you again in 25 years? I would love that. That means that you'll have to wheel me in on a wheelchair probably and an oxygen mask, but I'll be happy to be for the 50th anniversary wherever it happens to be. So we thank all the speakers, all the panelists, government representatives, practitioners, colleagues who made this event possible. I hope the conversations will definitely continue. The momentum will continue through stronger partnerships and renewed commitment to reforms. Lastly, I want to thank the organizers for this, both from my team and Christine's team. It is a lot of work to do this. It's a lot of effort. So to Jalita and Rafi and Maria and Anne and all those good folks, it takes a lot to make all of this happen. We really appreciate your kind words and appreciation and participation for those of you who are here. Thank you so much and look forward to seeing you again soon. Thank you.
Thank you very much, DG Aman, for your closing remarks. And may we invite you to please remain on stage as we call the PEFA Secretariat led by Srinivas Gurazada to present the plaques of appreciation to our speakers and panelists. Starting off with Director General Amand Trana.
I don't know if I'm giving him mic or getting him.
You're Thank you very much. Thank you. Next, we have Director General Christine Engstrom. Now we may call on the Global Practice Manager of the World Bank, Mr. Serdar Ilmaz. Next, we have Senior Sector Director, Mr. Tariq Niazi. We now move on to our panelists, starting off with OIC Undersecretary, Department of Finance of the Philippines, Mr. Nino Raymond Alvina. Next, we have the Provincial Finance Secretary of Nepal, Mr. Ram Kumar Mahato. Next, may we invite come up on stage the head of division of the Department of Budget of Kazakhstan, Ms. Bakit Bekezi Ayoli.
We would like to invite Mr. Eric Disconmaker from the European Commission. Please come up on stage, Mr. Sailendra Patnaik from the International Monetary Fund. Let us also welcome Mr. Benoit Billy from the French Development Agency. And finally, Mr. Hans Christian Baumann from the Embassy of Switzerland.
Again, thank you very much to our speakers and moderators and panelists, and also to the PIFA Secretariat. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, this brings us to the end of the program. My name is Ryan, and it has been an honor to be your host for today's event.
On behalf of the Public Financial Management Conference Committee, this has been Janine, and we thank you for joining us in commemorating 25 years of PEFA. We wish you a pleasant day ahead and continued success in advancing PFM reforms around the world. Commemorative caps of PEFA are available outside, so please make sure to grab one.
Refreshments are also available outside the hall for you to enjoy. We request you to come back at 11:40 for the PIFA training concluding ceremony.
Maraming salamat po.
Half days, we have come together to strengthen our understanding of the PIFA framework, build practical skills, and share experiences. Before we conclude, it is our pleasure to invite again ADB Director General Christine Engstrom for her closing message.
Great. Well, good morning again. And it's a real pleasure to be standing here with you and to be closing out this PIFA flagship training and PIFA week. It's been a really fulfilling experience being part of this. I know that the training has been going very well, and I hope that you've enjoyed the program and your participation is surely appreciated. So over the past few days, you've discussed the PIFA framework, public financial management reforms, and then the practical challenges that countries face in strengthening their PFM systems. And I want to thank, first of all, again, the PIFA Secretariat for its leadership, coordination, and continued support in making the training possible. I also really want to thank all of our PIFA partners for their continued commitment to this important global public good. I want to thank our wonderful team also at ADB as well, too, for all of their hard work. PIFA's strength lies not only in its methodology, but also in the partnerships really behind it. A partnership that's built on shared standards, shared learning, and a common commitment to stronger public financial management. This week, as you know, is also significant for ADB as a recent partner of PIFA. We're really pleased to contribute to PIFA and its work and looking forward to expanding it in Asia and the Pacific. Public financial management is often seen as a technical area, covering budgets, procurement, accounting, reporting, audit, fiscal risk, and controls. But its real value, as you all know, is much, much broader. So stronger PFM systems really help governments to use public resources effectively, deliver better services, strengthen accountability, and improve people's lives, as Aman was talking about earlier today. And that's why PIFA is so important. PIFA provides governments and partners with this common framework to assess how PFM systems are performing. It helps to identify strengths, diagnose weaknesses, and prioritize reforms. It supports evidence-based dialogue and then helps move reform discussions from broad concerns to then practical actions. But a PIFA assessment, as we all know, is not the end of the process. It's really just the beginning of a reform journey. And that's where its real value is realized. When evidence leads to action, when action strengthens institutions, and then when stronger institutions deliver better services and then better outcomes for people. And this is why your role and where your role is so important. So as you return to your institutions and countries, I encourage you to use the knowledge, tools, and connections, importantly, from this training to support practical reform dialogue. Use PIFA not only as an assessment framework, but also as an entry point for better prioritization, stronger sequencing, and then improved coordination across institutions and partners. The challenges facing governments are really complex, and they're becoming more so as we know. Countries are managing the fiscal pressures, climate shocks, as I mentioned earlier, debt vulnerabilities, infrastructure needs, and then rising expectations from citizens. In this environment, it's really important to have strong PFM systems that are not optional. They're really crucial for protecting development gains, making better public investment decisions, and then turning climate commitments into results, strengthening transparency, and then ensuring that limited public resources are used efficiently and effectively. And it's also really important because as we see that the debt ceilings are getting quite high, especially in some of our countries, it's important because you're also bringing in the private sector. And that's really important in terms of transparency, and that's a very critical part to the saving and maintaining the development gains that we've made in the past. But as we know, reform is never really easy. It requires leadership, persistence, collaboration, and then very importantly, reform champions, people like many of you today, who can really turn then the evidence into priorities, priorities into actions, and then actions into stronger institutions. So ADB remains committed to working with the PEFA Secretariat. PEFA partners are developing member countries to support practical, results-oriented PFM reforms across Asia and the Pacific. As we close this training, let's carry forward the momentum created this week through stronger reforms, stronger institutions, and better development results. Again, stronger systems, better choices, better services, and then ultimately better lives. Thank you so much. I wish you all continued success in your very important work. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, DG Christine. So kindly remain on stage because it is now time to recognize the successful completion of the training. We will now proceed with the awarding of certificates to our participants.
Starting off with Adu Honore Drama. Next, we have Eileen Malyilin. Next, we have Aisha Hasna Ahmed. Let's proceed with Altay Damirov. Next, we have Amuerfina Santos. Next, Asadullah Malik. We have Baldwin Aniga. Next, we have Bat Erdon Otgonbat. We have Benito Veramu. And we have Carlos Rafael Orton. Thank you very much, Director General Christine. Now may we invite Director Jose Antonio Ramos Tan from the Public Sector Management and Governance to give the certificates of completion.
Thank you, guys.
For the next set of awardees, we would like to invite Charlie Marshall Ngonu. Next, we have Chong Hav Lam. Please come up on stage, Siliaka Gitao. Next, we invite Cipriana Teresa de Jesus Isusa. Please also join us, Derbek Amantur. Next, we have Elvin Ramazanov. Next, we have Emmanuel Pillay. Please join us on stage, Endera Arachige Ratnasila. Next, we have Enkmanlai Purevjap. And we would like to invite Mr. Eric Desconmaker.
For the certificates.
You received. Yes. There's no one. Oh,
Sir.
Director Joe. As a trainee.
All right. All right. Thank you very much, Director Tan. Next, to give the set of certificates, may we invite Director Navendu Karan of the Public Sector Management and Governance. Starting off with Eva Jean Savellano Licayan. Next, we have Gabi Kila. Next, we have Gautam Dalmia. Next to receive the certificate of completion is Good Luck Chapulika. We have Helen Grace Connell. Next to receive is Hewa G. Ganij Nandani. Next, we have Ida Ayu Made Pratiwi Indira. Next to receive is Ilom Kamolzoda. Next, we have Jacqueline Simbolon. And we have Jave Noriel Bordaje. Thank you very much, Director Navendu. Next, we invite Director Chigdem Akin to present the certificates of completion.
For our next set of awardees, please come up the stage, John Muli. Our next recipient is Donald Bakal. Next awardee, Katrina Fano. Next, we have Kazi Kayum Hosen. Next, we have Kusrav Sharifov. Next, we have Kivshower Amin. We invite Lydia De Sousa Gutierrez. Next is Livia Sentosa. Next, we have Liza Cabarlo. Next, we have Marudut Napitupulu. Thank you very much, Director Tidem. Next, we invite to award our participants, Mr. Serdar Yilmaz. Okay, to award the next set of participants, we invite again on stage Mr. Eric Desconmacher.
Starting off with Mavzuna Shuzude Deva. Next, we have Micheline Resano. Next, we have Mohit Kumar Sa. Next to receive is Mona Sil Mango. Next to receive the certificate is Motoki Hayakawa. Next, we have Mutale Umbulo. Next, we have Nadima Latif. Next to receive the certificate is Nihad Farahov. And now we have Nihan Rafiq. Next, we have Niluka Samanmali Jayasinghe Kankanamge. Next, we have Nitin Kumar Gurihala. We also have Nkombo Bine Miwinga.
Thank you, Mr. Desconmacher.
One more. There's one.
The last one. Thank you very much. Yes. We would like to invite Mr. Salendra Patnayak to award the next set of certificates. First to receive is Nurul Mutmaina. Next, we have Och Soporn. Next, we have Oyun Badam Davaku. Next, we have Pakarampa Sirikit. Please join us on stage, Regina Detalia. Next, we have Samu Kelisiwe Soji. Next, we have Sheila Marie Tabelon Lagamon. Next, we have Shodi Nazarov. Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Patnaik. Next, can we invite Mr. Benoit Billy to award the next set of certificates?
Starting off with Sione Faleafa. Next, we have Sofia Hayihama. Next to receive the certificate of completion is Surob Zikriyozoda. Next, we have Tonivia Suarez Encarnação Sarmento. We have Vicente D. III.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Billy. Next, we would like to invite Mr. Serdar Ilmas to award the next set of certificates. Starting with Vuti Satra. Next, we have Yogesh Bom Mala. Next, we have Yuko Ishizuka. Next, we call on Sodavut Nay. And finally, we have Sayed Mehdi Shah Al Musavi. Congratulations to all our participants.
At this point, we will be giving the plaques of appreciation to the organizing committee. May we call on the PFA Secretariat to award this plaque to the ADB counterparts. First, we would like to give this plaque of appreciation to Director Navendu Karan. Next plaque of appreciation is given to Mr. Anjum Israr.
Next to receive the plaque of appreciation, Principal FM Specialist Julita Punaya. Next plaque is for Maria Keisler, who is not here. Okay, we will move on also to awarding our plaque of appreciation to our PEFA partners, starting with Mr. Eric Disconmacher. Okay. The next plaque of appreciation
So there are few more, particularly to our colleagues from Washington, D.C., the PFA Secretariat staff. May I invite Victor? Dimitri. Mona. Nine. John Mark.